The Galactic Council chamber was filled with light and noise. Hundreds of alien species sat in floating seats, watching the center stage. This was the place where civilizations were judged. At the center of the chamber, a single human warship appeared on the holoscreen. It was small compared to other fleets the Council had seen. Its metal body looked simple and rough. Whispers spread across the chamber. Then the whispers turned into laughter. The Zarnok delegates mocked the ship openly. They said it looked like old space junk. The Valari laughed and called it a toy. Others joined in, shaking their heads in amusement. This ship was called Earth's prototype. It was the first warship humanity had shown to the galaxy. Many believed this moment would end human ambition forever. Human representatives stood quietly at their platform. They did not argue or raise their voices. Their faces showed no anger or fear. They simply watched the Council react. One alien commander spoke loudly. He said humanity had wasted the Council's time. He claimed Earth would never survive real galactic war. More laughter filled the chamber. The prototype ship rotated slowly on the screen. Its surface showed no heavy weapons. No massive cannons or glowing shields were visible. To the galaxy, it looked weak. The Council demanded a demonstration. They wanted proof that this ship was worth attention. A test drone was launched toward the prototype. The drone fired a high-energy blast. The beam struck the human ship directly. For a moment, the chamber went silent. When the light faded, the prototype still floated untouched. Its shields shimmered briefly and vanished. The ship did not fire back. Some aliens stopped laughing. Others claimed it was only luck. They demanded a stronger attack. A second drone fired multiple weapons at once. Missiles and energy beams filled the space around the prototype. Again, the ship survived. Still, it did not respond. The Council grew confused. Why would a warship refuse to attack? Why would humans bring such a ship here? A senior human officer finally spoke. His voice was calm and steady. He said the prototype was not designed to fight the Council. That sentence made the chamber quiet. Aliens leaned forward, listening closely. The human continued. He said the ship was a signal. It was built to show intent, not power. The Council demanded clarity. They wanted to know what message the ship carried. The human paused before answering. He said the message was simple. Humanity was no longer alone. Laughter returned, louder than before. Many aliens believed this was a weak attempt to save face. They thought humans were bluffing. Behind the scenes, deep space sensors suddenly flickered. Data streams became unstable. Several systems failed to give clear readings. A technician reported unknown signals beyond the galactic edge. The range was massive. The energy levels were impossible to calculate. The Council dismissed the warning. They believed it was a sensor error. They had seen many false alarms before. The human representatives exchanged brief glances. None of them looked surprised. As the Council prepared to end the session, the prototype ship powered down its shields. It remained silent and still. Far beyond the chamber, something moved in the dark. Something vast and patient. Something that had been waiting for this moment. The galaxy laughed at Earth's prototype. But the laughter had already begun to fade. The Galactic Council ended the session with visible disappointment. Many delegates believed humanity had failed its first true test. They mocked the humans as the chamber slowly emptied. Outside the Council space, the prototype warship still floated in silence. It did not move toward any star lane. It did not prepare weapons or engines. Several alien commanders watched it closely. They did not trust the calm behavior of the human ship. Silence, in war, often meant danger. The Zarnok Military Council decided to act. They approved a limited force operation. Their goal was simple. Force the human prototype to react. A small Zarnok strike group exited hyperspace near the prototype. Their ships were sharp and aggressive, covered in weapons and heavy armor. They opened a direct channel. The Zarnok commander warned the humans to surrender the ship. He promised mercy if they complied. No reply came from the prototype. Not even a signal pulse. The Zarnok fleet advanced. Weapons locked. Engines glowing. Without warning, they fired. Energy beams and plasma shots rushed toward the human ship. Observers from many species watched through live feeds. The attacks struck the prototype. Its shields appeared again, calm and controlled. The weapons failed to break through. The Zarnok commander increased firepower. He believed overwhelming force would crush the ship. Missiles launched in waves. The prototype moved for the first time. Not to attack, but to shift position. It slid through space with smooth precision, avoiding missiles with small, perfect movements, as if it already knew where each strike would land. The alien observers grew quiet. This was not luck. This was calculation. Still, the prototype did not fire back. It only defended. It only survived. Inside the human command center far away, officers watched silently. No one gave the order to engage. A junior officer asked if the fleet should be deployed. The human admiral shook his head. He said it was not time. Back in the battle zone, the Zarnok fleet began to panic. Their weapons were failing to achieve results. One Zarnok ship pushed too close. The prototype emitted a brief pulse of light. The alien ship lost all power instantly. It drifted helplessly. Weapons dead. Engines silent. The pulse did no permanent damage. But the message was clear. The prototype could disable without destroying. The Zarnok commander ordered a retreat. Humiliation burned through their ranks. They had expected an easy victory. As the Zarnok ships fled, long-range sensors across the sector began to react. Something deep in space was shifting. Multiple civilizations detected movement beyond known routes. The signals were faint but vast, like shadows moving behind a curtain. Analysts struggled to explain the readings. The mass signatures were enormous, far too large to belong to a single fleet. Some believed it was a natural phenomenon. Others feared an ancient force awakening. The human prototype remained in place, silent once more, almost forgotten. In the Galactic Council archives, old records were pulled for review. They showed humanity's history of isolation. Humans had been ignored for centuries, left out of alliances and trade routes, considered too divided to matter. What the galaxy never noticed was how humans used that time. They watched. They learned. As the prototype powered down completely, a final encrypted signal was sent into deep space. Short and precise. It carried only one confirmation code. The signal was received. Far beyond the galactic edge, massive engines began to wake. Lights ignited in endless rows. The prototype had never been alone. It had only been early. Across the galaxy, warning alarms began to sound. Star systems that had been quiet for centuries suddenly filled with alerts. Sensor arrays strained to process impossible data. Deep space no longer looked empty. It looked crowded. At first, the readings made no sense. Analysts believed the systems were broken. The numbers were too large to be real. Then the first shape appeared. A massive human warship exited hyperspace near the galactic edge. Its hull was dark and wide. Its presence alone bent local space. Seconds later, another followed. Then another. Then hundreds. The void filled with ships. Not in chaos, but in perfect order. Every major species turned their attention to the same feeds. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Human warships emerged in endless waves. Cruisers, carriers, destroyers, and ships with no known classification. Each one marked with the same symbol of Earth. The count rose rapidly. 10,000. 100,000. Then the final number appeared. 500,000 active human warships. Silence spread through the galaxy. No laughter remained. Only fear. These ships were not rushing forward. They held position, forming massive formations across key hyperspace routes. Each fleet moved with perfect timing, like a single mind guiding them all. Alien command centers panicked. Emergency meetings were called. Alliances demanded answers. No one understood how humanity had built such a force. No one had seen these ships before. No one had detected their construction. Human communication channels finally opened. A calm voice spoke to every major system. He said the prototype was never meant to impress. It was meant to observe. The voice explained that humanity learned early. The galaxy respected strength, but it punished weakness. While others expanded loudly, humans expanded quietly. They built in hidden systems, far from trade lanes and politics. The fleets did not advance. They did not fire. They simply existed. That alone was enough. Some alien worlds began evacuations. Others prepared defenses that suddenly felt useless. Military simulations ran non-stop. Every result ended the same way. Human victory. Near the original prototype ship, the first human fleet arrived to stand beside it. The small ship looked different now. It was no longer a joke. It was a marker. The Galactic Council reconvened in emergency session. Faces that once laughed now showed terror. One delegate asked the question no one wanted to hear. What does humanity want? At that moment, the human fleets adjusted their formations. Not toward the Council worlds, but around them. The message was clear. This was not an invasion. It was a demonstration. The galaxy had mocked Earth's prototype. Now it stood surrounded by the shadows of 500,000 warships. The galaxy changed in a single hour. Where confidence once ruled, fear now spread. Powerful empires that had mocked humanity went silent. Their fleets stayed in orbit. Their weapons remained unused. The human armadas did not attack. They moved slowly and with purpose, positioning themselves around major systems. Trade routes were surrounded. Military hubs were quietly blocked. No shots were fired. Alien leaders struggled to understand this strategy. It was control without destruction. Pressure without violence. On dozens of worlds, emergency broadcasts interrupted daily life. Citizens watched the skies, seeing human ships hanging like steel moons. Some species demanded war, but their generals refused. They had seen the numbers. Simulation after simulation ended in disaster. No defense could stop that many ships. The Galactic Council met again. This time without laughter. This time without insults. Representatives argued in panic. Old alliances cracked under fear. Blame passed from one species to another. Several minor powers made a choice. They sent surrender messages to Earth. They begged for protection. Human command acknowledged every message, but gave no promises. At the heart of the fleet, human admirals watched quietly. They did not celebrate. They remembered old defeats. They remembered being ignored. They remembered being laughed at. A council delegate finally spoke the truth. Humanity had never tried to dominate the galaxy before. They had only tried to survive. The prototype ship became a symbol overnight. News networks replayed its reveal again and again. The moment laughter filled the chamber. Now that image carried shame. Humanity sent a second broadcast. Short and clear. The message said humans did not seek conquest. They sought balance. They sought respect. The fleets adjusted once more, opening safe corridors, allowing trade to continue under human watch. Fear slowly turned into uneasy understanding. On border worlds, pirates vanished. Old war zones fell silent. Human patrols enforced peace without cruelty. The galaxy realized something too late. Humans were not conquerors. They were guardians. The laughter of the past echoed faintly, drowned by the hum of human engines. In the council chamber, a final emergency vote was called. The question was no longer about power. It was about survival. And every species understood one truth. The age of mocking humanity was over. The final session of the Galactic Council began in silence. No one laughed. No one whispered. Every delegate understood the moment. The galaxy stood at a turning point. The human representatives entered calmly. They did not wear symbols of victory. They did not show pride. The council speaker announced the vote. Humanity was recognized as a primary galactic power, not by fear alone, but by undeniable reality. The prototype warship was mentioned in the records. Once mocked, now respected. It was declared a historic marker, a reminder of what silence could hide. Humanity presented its terms. Simple and direct. Borders would be respected. Civilizations would be protected from annihilation. Aggression would be answered with force. No empire would rule the galaxy alone. But no empire would be allowed to bully the weak. The council accepted. Because there was no better choice. Across the stars, human fleets slowly repositioned. Some ships returned to deep space. Others stayed as watchers. Trade resumed. Worlds rebuilt trust. A fragile peace formed. On Earth, the prototype ship was brought home. Not as a weapon, but as a lesson. It was placed in orbit above the planet. A silent guardian. Visible to all. Human children would one day look up and learn. Strength did not need noise. Power did not need cruelty. Far across the galaxy, species adjusted to the new order. Some with relief. Some with resentment. But none dared to laugh again. In council archives, a single line was added. A warning written for future ages. Never underestimate a quiet species. The galaxy had laughed at Earth's prototype. Then humanity revealed 500,000 warships. And from that day forward, the stars watched humanity in respectful silence.